The story begins as a young girl named Charlotte runs through a forest at night, and she is being chased by a group of soldiers. Meanwhile, the girl frantically runs deep into the forest. The unit leader alerts his men that they must catch her no matter what, but they stop for a moment out of fear. One of the soldiers explains that deep in this forest is the lair, according to the rumors he despises humans, to a level that anyone who approaches his lair is subjected to brutal aggression. The unit leader dismisses this as a fairy tale. Just as they are about to proceed, they receive word from a villager that he saw Charlotte, who they describe as the Wicked Woman. The lady hides nearby and goes the other direction when her pursuers leave. She internally apologizes to Natalia for leading without explaining. However, she is sure that she will get this chance as long as she's alive. Her durability is immediately tested when she falls down a semi-steep cliff. She tries to get up while calling Natalia's name but falls unconscious. Instead, from this playground-level slip, a mansion in the middle of the forest is not too far away from her. The following morning, the mansion is shown in a better light as it stands in the middle of a clearing. Alan steps out and reads the morning newspaper. Whomever is the paper boy is the real MVP. He reads about the commotion caused by this missing wicked woman. Alan pauses. He senses a presence and heads into the forest to find a group of suspicious-looking animals who look like they are up to no good. He wonders if there's a monster there. He finds that it's actually a girl and assumes that she must have fled from an abductor. The soldiers hide nearby, but we find that the boy was already well aware, and he uses elementary illusion magic to mess with them. The boy demands to know what business they have there, but they just act like a broken record and demand that he hand over the woman. They surround the boy and explain that the girl is a major criminal who disgraced the nation. These fools clearly don't know that they are talking to the protagonist, as they promise not to hurt him as long as he hands the girl over with no fuss. The boy isn't afraid at all and declines to comply with the requests. He refuses to side with a group of tin cans, so they point out how he can't use his hands and they attack. Unfortunately for them, he is still able to use magic and shocks them with a nonverbal skill. He prepares his next attack, and the soldiers tremble in fear as they realize that this boy is the great demon lord that resides in the forest. This realization comes far too late as the demon lord releases a powerful attack that defeats the entire group. He does some crazy powerful mind control thing and has the soldiers tell him what they will say when asked about what happened. They will say that they searched the forest thoroughly, but the woman's trail was gone, so they concluded that she was attacked by a monster. He then sends his new metallic puppets away as they will have no memory of what actually happened. Later, we learn that the demon lord's name is Alan, and he watches the girl, unwilling to believe that she's a major criminal the whole country is looking for. She wakes up and we learn that her name is Charlotte. The newspaper states that she's the fiancée to Prince Cecil. We get a flashback to the incident. The noble class gathered to celebrate, but before the party started, the prince called Charlotte. Most of them in the crowd didn't know who she was until it was clarified that she was a noble lady who had been betrothed to Cecil for years. They muttered among themselves about her being the child of a mistress as she walked through the people. The prince stated that her evil deeds had come to light and began to read the accusations. Charlotte was shocked since she had nothing to do with those accusations. The lady was taken away in jail to the delight of Cecil. After hearing that story, Alan is certain that she was framed. He speculates that the prince didn't want to marry her because she's the child of a mistress, or perhaps Cecil had another woman. The royal was tapping into his inner Henry VIII with his move. Back to the present, she apologizes for offloading her problems on him and expresses her appreciation for his help. She prepares to leave as she wouldn't like her wanted status to bring him issues. Alan interrupts and asks if she's good at cleaning. The demon lord points out that the place is a mess. He sits down and tells a story of how he was betrayed by his party member and left rot in a monster-infested tomb. Hearing this resonates with Charlotte. Alan is stunned by how pure she is. He suspects he is capping with that story just to get her to accept the job. It doesn't work because she rejects his offer, fearing that her presence will cause trouble. He proclaims that he is a virtuous man, but then reminds her that she has only 2 minutes and 31 seconds to decide. As if she didn't have enough pressure already, Alan, who's beginning to sound like Kermit on steroids, explains that it's getting harder to breathe. Moments later, we see that she gave in and has now become Alan's maid. Alan marvels at how good a job she has done cleaning and thinks about how rough her hands were when they first met. He determined that she was a noble lady by title only, and in reality, she was perhaps more like a servant. Charlotte then strangely anticipates her next chore, but he has nothing for her and simply tells her to do whatever she likes until dinner. She can't believe that he isn't worried about her stealing stuff, but he explains that he went shopping earlier and there isn't much cash left for her to steal. She apologizes for him having to buy stuff for her, but he states that he considers it an investment. He leaves her to do what she wants as he needs to work, and he tells her not to disturb him. Alan partakes in one of his few hobbies, fish fact-checking. He weirdly likes to find holes in research papers on magical theory, pointing out every flaw and riddling them with his corrections. He finishes after several hours and is shocked to find Charlotte behind him. The discount damsel reminds him that he told her to do whatever she liked, and she strangely chose to count the grains in the wood floor. Alan will later find that she doesn't have any hobbies. In the past, when she wasn't doing bridal training, she was just cleaning and mending clothes, so she didn't have any free time for hobbies. Alan can't believe she could say such a sad thing with a smile on her face. Alan thinks about how even he got to enjoy fun times at a magical academy every day, like making professors tear up by bombarding them with questions and blowing up classrooms with potion experiments. He thinks Charlotte should be having the best time of her life, and yet she has no hobbies or fun memories. Alan then excitedly decides that he's going to give her a crash course on all things naughty in the world. He sells a few of his magical equipment and buys some wrapped items. Alan clarifies that his definition of naughty is not an immoral type of pleasure. He assures her that it will not be anything illegal and presents the first naughty thing, which is to eat only sweets for dinner. The table is full of the most luxurious sweets and drinks in the kingdom. Charlotte points out that eating this will lead to an unbalanced diet. Alan makes her blush when he tells her that he bought all the sweets to make her happy. Charlotte takes the first bite and begins to cry. She informs him that no one has ever done such nice things like this for her, promises that starting from that moment, he will teach her every single pleasure in the world. Alan is not a fan of sweets, but he eats some cake to make Charlotte happy as they enjoy the sweet. Some sinister red eyes watch them from the darkness of the forest, happy to have found the demon lord. Alan stays up that night, coming up with a list of things that Charlotte has never experienced before. He gives a villain laugh as he works. He ends up falling asleep in the study and is only woken up by the rays of the morning sun. He's not too bothered because he came up with so many great plans. He holds the book up like it's a masterpiece. However, his tune changes when he reviews the contents and realizes that in his excitement the previous night, he compiled plans only he'd be happy with. He tosses the once revered list into the bin and decides to create a better one. The demon lord bumps into Charlotte, who's already holding a broom. They exchange greetings, but he doesn't want to tell her what he was up to the previous night. He checks to make sure that she has covered her ordeal. Alan is surprised to hear that being up this early and ready to work is part of her routine. There's suddenly another voice outside, and Alan quickly rushes out. We see a cat girl named Misha at the door. Alan introduces Charlotte as his new maid, but the girl just pushes him away as she introduces herself as his courier. She is surprised that a demon lord like himself could hire a maid, and Charlotte is shocked hearing his title, but Alan claims it's just his nickname. Misha recognizes Charlotte as the girl from the paper, and this starts to make her nervous. Alan thinks he might need to erase Misha's memories, but she tells him not to worry, saying the customer comes first. She says it's none of her business who he hires as a maid. Misha delivers him his package, and he prepares a box of potions for her to deliver to the store in town. Alan goes on to ask Misha about her company's mail-order business. She claims she can get anything that he requests and quickly gives him the catalogs for all their items. Alan notes that he already bought everything that he could think of, so he hands them over to Charlotte, telling her to make a list of anything she might need. Alan tells her to order anything she wants, saying that if he senses that she held back, he would buy every single item in the catalog. Misha laughs at Charlotte in her situation, telling her she needs to stand up to Alan, but Charlotte finds it hard since she's in his debt. Misha shows her how it's done, but Alan suddenly catches her punch, and with an evil smile, he decides what he should teach Charlotte next. After some time, Misha returns with Charlotte's order, and we see that Alan also ordered an item. He checks to verify the quality, but closes it before Charlotte gets a look. Misha wonders what he plans to do with it, and Alan reveals that it's for Charlotte. Charlotte gets nervous thinking about what it might be, but it turns out to be a punching bag. She wonders if they're using it for exercise, but Alan says it's the next pleasure that he'll be showing her. Misha gets suspicious about what they're talking about, but Alan tells her to get her mind out of the gutter. He tells Charlotte to punch as hard as she can so she can relieve her stress, and he has even set up a picture of the prince as her target. He tells her that it's okay for her to sometimes get angry and she can't just keep it bottled up or she will eventually fall apart. Charlotte claims she isn't angry, but Alan notes that when he was going through the papers to find a picture of her ex-fiancé, he learned how she was treated as a villain, and it even frustrated him. Charlotte thinks the prince must have had a good reason. Alan says his behavior was unacceptable regardless of the circumstances. Charlotte just can't bring herself to resent the prince or her family. Alan can't believe his plan was a failure. He had planned to help her realize her resentment toward the prince and then storm the kingdom and uncover his evil deeds. The bad guys were meant to get caught, proving her innocence, and she would then live happily ever after. But he realizes that her problem is much deeper within her heart. Misha thinks he should take it easy on Charlotte, but he thinks that it's not in his nature to just let her heal on her own. so he tells her to hit him instead of the punching bag. Charlotte is confused hearing this and starts to panic. She refuses to hit him, but he suddenly uses his magic and her gloves start to move on their own. She punches him in the face, blowing him away, and Charlotte can't believe what just happened. Alan compliments her punch and Charlotte worries since he's bleeding, but he tells her not to worry, saying that no matter what she does to him, he will never abandon her. He tells her she is free to do and say anything she wants, but she can't believe he resorted to such a tactic. Alan is happy to see she is able to get angry and shows off how he can heal his injury. He tells her that everything can be undone, so there's nothing for her to be afraid of. Charlotte thinks that it still would have hurt him, and she tells him not to do anything like that again. She promises to do her best to say the things she is thinking. Alan is glad to see her making progress, although it's different from his original plan. He apologizes to Misha since they didn't end up using the punching bag, but she tells him it's no problem, hoping he will continue to use their service. Alan wonders what she's talking about, and Misha thinks he'll be needing all kinds of items soon, like a ring, a new bed, and baby supplies, and then she starts making the list. Alan and Charlotte are left confused by what she's talking about.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.